Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Grace Holland. We've seen some unseasonably warm days and some cold days so far this winter, but new data shows that overall this time of year is getting warmer. Here to talk about what that means for Raleigh and beyond is WRAL climate change reporter Liz McLaughlin. Liz, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, so let's start with what scientists are calling stolen winter days. What does that mean and how is Raleigh impacted by this?
So across the Northern Hemisphere, winters are warming. They're getting warmer here in Raleigh, and we've lost an average of 9 days annually with the low below freezing over the past decade. Not over the past 50 years, just over the past decade, we're seeing really rapid warming, particularly in the season, and that's part of a larger trend that scientists say is driven by greenhouse gases, by pollution.
Okay, and so about how much time of winter have we lost?
9 days as far as that freezing, sort of metric, but really 18 days are above normal or warmer. So, than an average when we're looking at the analysis, over the past the historical average. Gotcha. So really, it could be looked at as much as, 2.5 weeks. And I really love North Carolina because I love the seasons. I love having different seasons. And I think that, momentum from one to the next, a changing environment is really inspiring. And now it really feels like here we have really kind of 3 seasons, instead of 4.
Yeah, and so how does that matter for Raleigh and other parts of North Carolina to lose a season almost?
Yeah, warmer winters can really disrupt ecosystems. So that can make it harder for plants and animals to thrive. Pests like ticks and mosquitoes can stick around longer. I just got a mosquito bite the other day. Here we are,
That's crazy.
Right near Christmas, just walking my dog. And, for industries like winter tourism, less snow can mean fewer visitors. So that can really translate to some dollars here, too. I spoke with Andrew Pershing, who's the director of climate science for Climate Central, and that's a nonprofit that analyzes data from the National Weather Service and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA.
But winter in many places, including in North Carolina, is the fastest warming season. So we're seeing some of our biggest impacts of climate change during the winter.
Now, we think of scorching temperatures in July and August when we think about climate change, but it sounds like climate change is impacting winters as much as summers.
Absolutely. And winter is actually warming at a faster rate than any other season. So that's growing across the board year over year. Scientists say 2024, this year, will be the warmest ever recorded, the hottest, and we're likely to see that record broken again and again in the coming years. The winter solstice is this Saturday, December 21st, but meteorological winter is December to February, and Raleigh's winter temperatures are nearly 6 degrees higher than they were in the 1970s, 5.7 degrees to be exact, and as I mentioned earlier, 18 more winter days above normal.
Yeah, we're guaranteed to be, the hottest year on record, and that is the surest indicator that we're living on a warming planet that's fueled by carbon pollution that we're all contributing into the atmosphere. So this is going to be, the warmest year ever until we get the next one, which will probably happen, at some point in the next couple of years.
That's really sobering. And so what does that mean about snow? I mean, our meteorology team here at WRAL has kind of already predicted that we likely won't see snow this year. So is it going to just continue to be more and more of a long shot?
Yeah, especially if you're dreaming of a white Christmas, it might really be a dream. Raleigh only has a 2% chance of seeing at least 1 inch of snow on the ground on Christmas Day. That's based on historical data from NOAA. And by that definition, the last official white Christmas here was in 1966.
Well, that's really crazy because I think a lot of people who've lived here for a long time will remember that there was some snow on 2010 Christmas Day. That just doesn't count?
Well, we did get snow then, but that was less than a half an inch. Mm-hmm. So it really didn't, add up to this kind of 1 inch metric. The big snowfall there really came the day after. I think it was 7 inches across the triangle. But we haven't seen snow in a couple of years now, and we're actually in the 3rd longest snow drought in Triangle's history, which again just makes me really sad because, I've got my earmuffs. I have all these coats that are just hanging in my closet unused.
Let's take a quick break right there, and we'll be right back. Liz, we got an interesting question from a viewer. They asked, how far back does weather reporting go? And they give an example here. They say, if records go back to the 1700s, how do scientists know there weren't hotter days in the 1600s, the 1300s, even earlier? Can scientists say 100% sure that the Earth wasn't hotter in, say, the year 1125? A lot of dates they're throwing out there, but I think a lot of us have wondered things like this.
Sure, because you hear that a lot, right? Oh, hottest year on record, hottest year on record, again and again. And so that's a really good question. It's something that scientists really hear a lot. And it's true that temperature records, they only go back a couple of hundred years. Based on the sensors that we have now and the kind of official record keeping. But scientists use what's called proxy data to reconstruct temperatures from much further back in history. So this can include things like tree rings or ice cores, coral, sediment layers, things like that. And they provide kind of indirect evidence of past climate conditions. So together, all these sources tell a consistent story of how the Earth's climate has changed over thousands of years.
We are dealing with the warmest conditions that the planet has faced in about 100 or 150,000 years. So if you think what humans were doing 150,000 years ago, we were basically just starting to walk out of Africa, right? These are not conditions that our species, that our civilizations have ever encountered before. And then when you couple that with the fact at how quickly things are changing, that's where the challenges come to play.
And that's not all. There's an overwhelming scientific consensus. We're talking more than 97% of climate scientists agree that the current warming trend is driven by human activities, specifically greenhouse gas pollution. So while the Earth has experienced some natural climate fluctuations in the past, and that will continue, the speed and the scale of today's warming is just unprecedented. And when you start to look at it, if you look at it on a graph, it's really accelerating. And that's really one of the most alarming things.
Right. That's a really helpful explanation there, Liz. And it sounds like the data that these scientists use is just really detailed, even if they are working from things like tree rings or ice cores like you talked about. And it just paints a pretty clear picture.
It's kind of like putting together a puzzle, and all those pieces, whether it's the temperature records or natural proxies, it's still telling the same story. And every year as we get more and more data, more and more sophisticated models, it's just harder and harder to ignore.
And so it is getting warmer, but we've heard some viewers who celebrate a milder winter. They're not necessarily upset if we go all winter without snow. But what do these temperature changes mean as far as consequences?
Yeah, I got to admit, I had, lunch outside and it was really nice. These 69, 70-degree temperatures, taking my dog to the dog park, it's great. But I'm also, you might hear it, a little nasally right now because I'm sniffling because allergy seasons are getting longer. See, I'm all tripped up now. They're really getting longer because plants bloom earlier, and even more carbon in the atmosphere is making them produce more pollen. So if you're an allergy sufferer like me, it's just misery for longer and longer in the year, taking Claritin every day, pretty much year round. And as I mentioned, pests, ticks, and mosquitoes, they're really thriving. And it can impact crops because plants can be tricked into blooming early or hibernating later, so really causing damage to them because it's more unpredictable with what's happening outside. And so I even spoke with a farmer recently who's seeing their strawberries kind of bloom already, and they're losing whole swaths of crops because of this kind of unpredictable weather. It plays into things, like drought and precipitation as well. So we're having, a long period of drought with like way too much rain. So it's really affecting agriculture, which is North Carolina's biggest industry. And then winter tourism, as we said earlier, that can take a hit. And while it might be nice now, got like a little sweater or just wearing your t-shirt today, that means that temperatures can be even more brutal in the summer. So spring and even the fall too. And there's all those dangerous health risks that come with that heat.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it doesn't sound like anything that we're going to get away from soon.
Yeah, that's right. I looked at a lot of different climate models, talking to these scientists. Warmer winters are just kind of one part, too, of this broader climate crisis. And so seeing the warmer temperatures, it's connected to a lot of other issues as well, like, warmer temperatures causing warmer ocean temperatures, and that's fueling more intense storms. So that's translating to the hurricanes that we saw this year, devastation in Western North Carolina. And scientists really say the rapid pace of this change makes it really critical to take action now to slow it down. And it'll be an interesting, next few years as we change administrations here in the state and in our country, to see, how that progress might change towards these big climate goals that we have.
Liz, thank you so much for breaking this down for us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the WRAL Daily Download. To learn more about climate impacts and what they mean for North Carolina, visit WRAL.com and click on the Climate Change tab. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email with Triangle news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.